and the attitude that we have in order to continue to be relevant in the world today, for the world is changed. Just like then, Egypt was the superpower, and after some time they lost that superpower to another nation, right from the days of Greeks. And I know some people says, oh, Alexander the Great and the Greek people brought democracy, but did they actually bring democracy? Maybe you should study more to see where it was borrowed. And then even in democracy that we have in the world today, is that actually a democracy or is that a fake, a deception? A democracy that does not take into account its own citizen, a democracy that has decided to formulate their own power in order to truncate the power of the people. Though the people may elect somebody to be able to lead them and people to help them to lead, but those people have no power because someone have taken away their powers. Some unconstituted power and unconstituted authority decide to know what to share and what to say and how to serve the representative of the people and the leader of the people that people have chosen to lead them. An abuse of power, and they wonder why things are the way they are in the world and they expect things to be better. Of course, those people are not serious because they need to understand that the things that they say, the word that come out of their mouth, and the things that they do carries a lot of power and influence, which could be negative or positive. By the word of the mouth, Pharaoh decreed and vested his power unto Joseph. But yet Joseph was humble and did not consider himself equal to Pharaoh in his service to his then adopted nation. Now from there, Pharaoh went to his own siblings and bringing his children, his brothers, and his father into the land of Egypt. And from there was also blessed. You see an exchange of blessing. Joseph blessing Pharaoh, just Pharaoh blessing Joseph, Israel blessing Pharaoh, and you see the harmony, the harmonious coexistence among the people. Then you see that even though that Joseph have acquired all the people in Egypt and all their livestock and their wealth, their land, everything belonged to Pharaoh. He turned around and returned it to them back for fifth of all of that to return back to them so that they may live their life and enjoy the abundance of God's blessings unto the nations, unto his nation, his new nation. Though he was a foreigner and alien, but now a citizen of the land, that he decides who comes in and who goes out. There was no discrimination from Pharaoh. That is an African spirit. It is in every tribe and every nation in Africa. And that should be a good example. This is not about preaching a sermon unto you about the word of God for those that don't believe. It's about what is good and what is right, that even though Pharaoh was not a believer in God, but he did not stand up to fight God and the way and those that believe in it, like Joseph, his family. As the world leaders today fight against those of faith and religious communities and people, indigenous tribes that have their own faith and belief and way of life, they did not try to force them and change them from who they are. The humility that even though an unbeliever knows what is good or right, and the sense of justice is natural in every human being, except those themselves have decided to adopt the wickedness and evil in the world. And they call themselves leaders. So you can see an example of leaders. Only 20% they asked to bring back as a return. By doing so, Pharaoh preserved the land of Egypt from becoming desolate. And they preserved the wealth of the nation so that the country will not crumble. But today we have our leaders that decide that they shall continue to input their own children into the debts. They have sold out everything that we have, and they have submitted everything and gave it up. and they have taken loan upon the life of their unborn children so that they will continue to be enslaved unto a foreign land and foreign nation and foreign people. That's what they call a leadership, like what is happening in Nigeria too and all the other nations of the earth. They now have taken loan, IMF, World Bank, China, America, everywhere. They have even sold their natural resources that God gave them free way ahead of time. So that even though an indigenous of the land in Nigeria who have built a refinery could not buy anyone because every production that is made has been sold and mortgaged for loan. So that there is nothing left to give, so that they help them to be able to survive. And they call that leadership. So when people talk about those that open their mouth to speak about the wickedness and evil that is going in Nigeria, I laugh at them. I laugh at them because it just showed how foolish they are. They personalize things in order to shut people's mouth, and so that they will not be able to speak about evil. They make it to be tribal. The things they have continued to use to divide people. Oh, is my tribe, is your tribe, is my religion, is your religion, but they are manipulating the people into foolishness. And what I don't understand, and what surprises me, is how people believe such a thing. How can you look a particular pattern that has existed for thousands, hundreds or so hundreds of years, and yet continue to fall into it, to be deceived and manipulated? That is about the color of the skin, is about the tribe that you come from, it is about your religion, is about what and what, when you all are suffering in it. They call themselves leaders and they call themselves bright, the nation that have produced the brightest of the brightest, and yet they call themselves and they consider and find themselves into such a foolish thought and foolish beliefs. They have got them talking about foolishness and then talking about follies. They're talking about trivialities and talking about things that are irrelevant and things that are non-important. They are occupied in the gossip parlor that has been built on the technology that has been established, rather than the good that it brought to humanity. They now use it in their own to tear themselves apart. Rather than talk about substance, about things that lift people up, they talk about things that destroys life and engage in the destruction of lives all over the nations of the earth. And they want peace. They want food to eat.